Hey everybody, Ryan Medora here, and I am back with another bass lesson for you. Today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite Beatles tunes, Paul McCartney bass line, Taxman from Revolver. Such a great record, and this one kind of like kicks it off with a lot of fun bass awesomeness. It's a pretty simple part, and it's something that's just like great to have in your back pocket, and it's also like a great little technique exercise. So if you want to get tab, notation, anything like that to go along with this lesson or any of the ones from my channel, please head over to my Patreon page or my TRUEFIRE channel. I seriously can't tell you how much that helps in terms of me making these videos. So if you dig this, please head over there and support. And in the meantime, you can always check out my website for other fun stuff, ryanmedora.com. But now we're just going to dive into this lesson and learn how to play Taxman by the Beatles. So if you've been to this channel, you know that a lot of things I like to focus on is kind of defining the key and the tonal center of the song and a little bit of the theory, and then talk a little bit about technique. So that's what we're going to do today with this bass part. We're going to be working in the key of D, and I'm going to find my D here, 5th fret of my A string. Really nice middle point of the neck to play, good place. And as we play the part, what we're going to do is focus on a couple of things. One is going to be having a little bit of a smaller span on the fretboard. Now, a lot of the conventional bass technique is having what we call the 4-fret span, where we have 1 finger per fret, kind of like that. But this bass line is unique in the sense that we're really just spanning 3 frets. So I like to kind of have a smaller, what I call the 3-fret span, where I'm using my 1st finger and then my pinky for the higher notes. So let's say if I'm going between the 5th fret and the 7th fret, my fingering would go 1st finger, middle finger, pinky. But actually in this particular song, I'm exclusively using just my index finger and my pinky. So you'll notice that if you were to try to use your index finger and your ring finger, you kind of get this little awkward shape. Your hand is going to be more to the side. Your ring finger is going to be playing these notes. And that's okay, but I think sometimes it's a little bit better to go whoop, kind of shift your hand a little bit and use your 1st finger and your pinky. And because we're going to be playing a very repetitive part, we want to be mindful of economy of motion with this line, and I think that playing it with this particular fingering pattern really is helpful. The next thing is that we're going to be focusing on a blues box pattern, meaning that, like, typically the blues box uses the root note, the 5th scale degree, the flat 7th or minor 7th, and the octave. So if you've ever heard a shuffle pattern like this, we kind of will often refer to that as the blues box. And really what it's doing is it's outlining notes of the chord. We've got a root, we've got a 5th, we've got a 7th, we've got an octave. The only thing we're missing is the 3rd. That's okay. And in fact, sometimes with this particular kind of line, we might include the 4th scale degree as well. So in this case, the notes we're going to be working with are D. Our 4th scale degree is going to be G. A is our 5th. Our minor 7th is going to be C. And then we're going to have D, the octave on top. And you'll see that this kind of forms the shape of the box on our fretboard because we're just going between the 5th and 7th fret, hence the blues box concept. Now, as we play this, we're going to be playing the root, the octave. We're going 4th to 5th, and then our minor 7th. So real slow. We got D, D, G, A, C, and those are going to be the notes. Now, the interesting thing about this is to play it right, we need to use a hammer-on. So we want to have a really, really quick note of this 4th scale degree, and it's going to lead into our 5th. So we don't want to have, it's almost like they're the same note. It happens so fast. It's just like a little ba-dum. And to do that, we use this hammer-on technique. Now, a hammer-on is basically when you have one note that you have fretted, that you play with this hand, and then you use the force of fretting the next note to create the pitch. So we're only using this hand to attack the 1st note. So if you watch both my hands, you'll see, that the force of putting my pinky down on the string and pressing that to the fretboard is enough to make the note resonate, and therefore we don't have a second attack with this hand. So you can hear how it happens really fast. And it's really one attack, the octave, a single attack for this, but followed by the hammer-on, and then another attack here for our minor seventh. And there it is. That's a great way to do a hammer-on. Now just be mindful, don't use too much force, because if you do, it'll get a little clunky sounding. Again, we want to focus on economy of motion here, so as little force as we can get, as proper technique as we can get, and all that good stuff. So once you get this bass line down in D, we're going to follow the chords in our chord progression, and we're actually going to take this down to C, the minor seventh. We're going to go down a whole step. So we're going to take this pattern, we're going to go whoop, sneak it down just a whole step to C. We're going to play it twice there, and then we're going to sneak it over one string to the G, and that's going to be our fourth. So if you think about it, our chords, we're going to be on the one chord for a while, then we're going to go and play the pattern twice on our flat seventh, the C, and then once on the fourth, the G. So we start here on the fifth fret, sneak it down to the third fret, and then go over one string, staying on the third fret. So the whole pattern is going to be like this. And that's basically our verse. So you can hear it stay on the D for a long time, a couple times on the C, one time on the G, and then head back. So as you're doing this, remember, don't use too much force. That'll end up giving you a little bit of hand fatigue. I would recommend definitely using your first finger and your pinky rock and roll hands to play this. And the other thing I would mention is that there is a little bit of variation within this bass part. So sometimes they're going like that, where they're playing the root note and the octave, and then sometimes McCartney is just playing just the root note twice, and it kind of coincides with when you hear the guitar go bah, bah, as if you're singing Taxman. So sometimes you'll hear it go like this, sometimes like this, where basically most of the rest of the part is the same, just instead of playing the root and the octave, you're just playing the root twice. And then there's a little less of a hammer-on sometimes, so you can go right to the fifth if you want, and skip the hammer-on there if you'd like. But that's really the only variation, and there are a couple little things as you go through the song, but this will get you 90% of the way there, I promise. And so I hope you dug this lesson. Again, if you want to check out tab, notation, anything like that, please head over to my Patreon page or to my TRUEFIRE channel, and there's plenty of other goodies and fun things on my website, ryanmedora.com. So have a great day, everybody. Hope you dug this. Happy practicing, and keep it groovy.